All right, so now we heading back to the NFL. We already talked about the three, shall I say, riveting Thanksgiving games yesterday. Now we need to talk about the rest of the week. We got some barn burners here. The game I think going to kick out the 1 o'clock window if that's such a thing. We got the Pittsburgh Steelers going to the Cincinnati Bengals. And then Monday night, we got the Seattle Seahawks going against the Washington football team. So with that said, Jay, give us what you're looking at between Sunday and Monday.
Man, I'll tell you what I'm not looking at. This New York Jets Houston Texans game. Yeah, you talk about a battle for draft position. That's we found one right there. Robert Saleh and David Culley going at it. Rod Taylor and daughter's excited about it, I guess. But look, look, outside of that, like there's a lot of games to like. I think you're going to talk about Rams Packers. I think that's the best game of the week. I think the second best game is you got Tennessee visiting New England. I think Tennessee. I think I don't think they're as good as their record would indicate. They are 8-3, but they did just lose to Houston, pretty ugly, I might add. As Tannehill's out here throwing 4 picks. That's not a good sign when you go in to play Bill in Foxborough. Because you know Bill's going to come out, he's going to throw some stuff at you. And you don't have the luxury of having Derrick Henry like you did in the playoffs a couple years ago. So Tannehill throwing for about 70 yards ain't going to do it like he did in that wild card game. I know you remember what I'm talking about.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And we know New England's been hot. They've won 5 in a row. Their defense is playing outstanding. I think New England keeps rolling. And they'll be 8-4. Tennessee will be 8-4 as well. But I think that's definitely one worth watching, and I'll be really surprised if Tennessee is able to pull that off because New England's playing great. Mac Jones is, he's outplaying all these other rookie quarterbacks. He's relying on a great defense and a really good running game. So I think he's going to take care of business there. Elsewhere, you also another under the radar game, just like it was last week when the Colts played the Bills. Now they get another big test. This time they'll be at home. They get the defending champs coming in, the Bucks. Bucks they give the Bucks 3 points. It's gonna be an interesting matchup because we know how fearsome the Bucks are against the run with that vaunted front seven that they have. But the Colts, they like to run the football, and Jonathan Taylor has proven that I think at minimum he's a top 5 back right now. He's playing out of his mind. He had 5 touchdowns last week. He just torched the Buffalo Bills. I think this game, what I'm looking for is like Carson Wentz. Like I think I would be really surprised and probably shocked if Jonathan Taylor is able to just do whatever he feels like. So Carson Wentz, I'm looking at him like this is the type of game to where I think Carson Wentz got to use his arm to make things happen against a Bucks secondary, which is kind of probably still trying to, figure it out a little bit. They've had so many guys in and out the lineup. I think they're starting to, they're a little bit more healthy than they were early in the season. But that's still like, if you're Michael Pittman, if you're T.Y. Hilton, if you're Pascal, all these guys, you should have some matchups that are favorable, especially I think the Bucks, I think their first priority is going to be to stop Jonathan Taylor. So I think Carson Wentz is going to have to make some throws. And then we'll see how the Colts defense stacks up against Tom Brady with all the weapons that they have. And then last one, Browns-Ravens on Sunday night. Baker Mayfield, Lamar Jackson, I know who I'm confident of. Browns will be getting some reinforcements back, but that's the type of game. Look, the Browns are talented. They got just as much talent as Baltimore, I think arguably more. But, I'm not picking against Lamar Jackson in that matchup. So I think those are 3 outstanding games. There's a lot more. And go ahead and break the rest of them down for us.
Yeah, man, my first game I talk about, I wouldn't call it outstanding, but I do think listen, we talked about, the Jets and the Texans fighting for the first spot. Well, let's talk about the second, third, and fourth spot, and I think that's where you squeeze in this old Falcons versus the Jaguars. Yeah, they're going to be a top 5 pick. Both of these teams probably going to get a top 5 pick when it's all said and done. But somebody got to win, somebody got to lose. No, not necessarily. I guess you can get a tie, right? And then, listen, I don't know which way I'm leaning. I guess I got to lean with Matt Ryan. Vegas got him 2-point favorite. Matt Ryan is probably the best player overall on the field for both teams. Unless you want to say Kyle Pitts. But either way, It's in Jacksonville. I think that's going to be a riveting game for the number 3 pick. Then, the game that you talked about, which I think this should be the game this should be, as they call it, the America's game of the week. This should be that game, the Los Angeles Rams versus the Green Bay Packers. Here's the deal. We always talk about the elite club. We have just talked about how Dallas is no longer in the elite NFC club. We got to drop them down to tier 2. But as of right now, we still got 2 tier 1 teams that's going to be jostling. Like, it's funny. We talking about the Jets and the Falcons and the Jaguars and the Texans fighting for the number 1 spot in the next year's draft. These 2 teams will be fighting for the number 1 spot in this year's playoff as far as the NFC go. Right now, Vegas have the Rams as a 1-point favorite. Listen, I don't know. Clearly, they must think the Rams defense is going to make a stance where the Packers defense won't. I don't know exactly where you squeeze in that 1 point. I hope it's a 1-point game because that's usually mean we're going to get a pretty good game that's competitive throughout the game. So you got Green Bay. I mean, you got Matt Stafford. You got Aaron Rodgers. You got, like we say, 2 upper echelon teams that we have a lot of respect for this year in that upper echelon NFC race. So I think this game will go a lot to telling us what we might get to see if we, get to the AFC Championship and then possibly the Super Bowl. And the last game I wanted to hit on, I'm looking at the Seattle Seahawks and the Washington football team on Monday Night Football. I got it. What in the hell is he talking about the Seahawks and the football team? I'm just interested to see. Listen, the football team, we sleeping on this football team. A lot of these games we watching now are winnable for the football team. We do know that, right? Like, they just beat the Panthers last week. They can beat the Seahawks. I'm telling you, they get sneaky playoff team, folks. I know we don't think much of old Tyler Heineke and McLaurin and Gibson and those fellas on the offense there, and the defense ain't living up to what they built last year, and I got it. But it's still something there. And now they get the slot here on Monday Night Football by themselves against the Seahawks, which Pete Carroll and Russell Wilson and the Legion of Boom used to be here and all that, what they bring to the table when they on the primetime game. I think this will be a good opportunity for people to see the football team and be like, hey, maybe this team got something. I mean, we're not saying Heineke is, I don't know, Carson Wentz or anything, but maybe it's something there. It's something there that you. It might make the naysayers say maybe this football team ain't as bad as we think they are. And like I said, it's a very winnable game, so I will be paying attention to that one. But through all in all, man, like I agree with you, man. I think the best game in the 1 o'clock window is the game you covered, the Bucs and the Colts. I think that's very riveting. I get it. We got I know Tennessee Titans and New England. I got that. It's something about the Colts, though. The reason this game gets my attention is because that Colts team, if they can show us what they showed us against the Bucs, you have to think maybe Frank Reich done figured something out. He done figured out how to get the most out of his team. With the Patriots, honestly, the Patriots have a really good avenue of winning this game. I really do think the Patriots should win this game. It's not as much of a toss-up as I got with Tampa Bay and Indianapolis. I think the Patriots should win this game. No Derrick Henry, Ryan Tannehill. What we talking about here? A.J. Brown, sometimes he show up, sometimes he don't. Julio's still on the resting table back there, on the medic table. I really think the Patriots should win this game, so that's why I think the more riveting game, the better game in the 1 o'clock window is the Bucs and the Colts. And yeah, so those are my 3 games, and that's how I'm looking at the NFL Week 13 slate.